Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's great to see everyone here and everyone online. Can't see you, but it's good to have everyone here on a wonderful February, beautiful day outside and warming up a little bit from cold weather that came through this last week. So let's see what we have here. Oh, by the way, my name is Mike Hawes, and so I'll be doing the facilitating today. Any new visitors? Okay, looks like we don't have any. Well, if there's anybody online, we do have a new visitor package that we could get to you if you're interested. So just let us know. We'd be glad to get that to you. Let's see, as far as who we have talking today, we're going to have Reverend Jim Yeaw doing our talk, so we're looking forward to that about questions. The reader today will be Claire Marshall, so we'll look forward to that reading. And musicians is our Unitix with the normal group would be Gerald and, of course, Elle and Al and Leanne, I think. Yeah, there's Leanne. Great. I also want to mention on the back wall, we have Janice Ballard's artwork and poetry. And I haven't been back there yet. I'll have to go take a look. Yeah, let's do a little clap for that. It looks beautiful, that tree, so I'll have to go back afterward and take a look. And then announcements, they're in your bulletin. I am going to mention a couple of them here in particular. So one is there is a council position that's open. And Gerald and I are the official, what are we? I guess we're the people to help try to find that person. What I'd like to do is just make a mention, and this is something personal to me, although I've heard others here at Unity, is to kind of put out there in the universe that we bring in somebody, what's the appropriate way to say this, younger, I guess, than I am, and then a lot of the people on the council are. We really want to continue to create an environment here, just not for those of us that have been here for quite a few years, but the younger generations, and having them on the council is going to be really important because they can influence and speak to that part of our community. And make sure that we're listening and understanding what they need. So I want to put that out there. If there's anybody who's interested in that, please contact either myself or Gerald. Let's see. Secondly, a Zoom discussion group on creating the beloved community started on January 19th. It's from 7 to 8:30, and it will be meeting every Wednesday for 10 weeks. So if you're interested, you can still sign up for that group. And Jim, I believe you're leading that group, correct? Okay, very good. The prayer chaplain class has been rescheduled for February 19th and the 26th from 10 to 3. So if you'd like to sign up, please contact Sharon. So she'll be leading that. We thank you very much, Sharon. And let's see, the last one I think I'm going to point out is the annual meeting is coming up here fairly soon on February 20th, so that's 2 weeks from today. That'll be done via Zoom, and everybody will be done via Zoom, is my understanding from last week when Ann was talking, that we're going to try to keep it at a level playing field instead of having some live and some on Zoom. We do need, I think it's 10% at least at one point, or is it 10? 25%, thank you, okay. 25 people, oh, okay. 25 people so that we have a quorum for our, the minutes that'll be taken there. We will be making some decisions for the next year for Unity. So we appreciate. Who's going to bring the refreshments? Is that you're saying? Well, yeah.
For a Zoom meeting, everyone.
BYOF, bring your own refreshments, huh? Yeah, or R. So let's see, the formal notice of the meeting will be sent via email with a copy of the new proposed bylaws, so I bet you we'll have some discussion about those or vote those in, and thanks for everybody who's worked on those bylaws. So I think that's it for announcements. There's more that are in the bulletin, unless there's anybody else that has an announcement that they'd like to stand and talk about. Okay. So let's see, what do we have next? Oh, okay, silence, yes. So now's the time to kind of get yourself comfortable in the pew. We're going to take a breath and have a little bit of a silence. If you feel comfortable closing your eyes, just breathing, and there's been all that things going on and trying to rush to get here, and what we want to do is just center and be available for the wonderful lessons and learnings we're going to hear about today. So take a little bit of silence, please. Okay. So let's do our unity opening. And if you're not familiar with that, there should be a sheet in the bulletin to help you. Our unity centers us in light and peace, allowing us to recognize our God within and to radiate that love to the world. Very good. Okay, special music. I'll hand it over to Al and whoever else is involved in that.
Just me on this first one. Just me on the first one.
Okay.
Round like a circle in a spiral, like a wheel within a wheel, never ending or beginning on an ever-spinning reel, like a snowball down a mountain or a carnival balloon, like a carousel that's turning, running rings around the moon, like a clock whose hands are sweeping past the minutes of its face, and the world is like an apple whirling silently in space, like the circles that you find in the windmills of your mind, like a tunnel that you follow to a tunnel of its own, down a hollow to a cavern where the sun has never shone, like a door that keeps revolving in a half-forgotten dream, or the ripples from a pebble someone tosses in a stream, like a clock whose hands are sweeping past the minutes of its face, and the world is like an apple whirling silently in space, like the circles that you find in the windmills of your mind. Keys that jingle in your pocket, words that jangle in your head. Why did summer go so quickly? Was it something that you said? Lovers walk along the shore and leave their footprints in the sand. Is the sound of distant drumming just the fingers of your hand? Pictures hanging in a hallway and the fragment of this song have remembered names and faces, but to whom do they belong? When you knew that it was over, You were suddenly aware that the autumn leaves were turning to the color of her hair. Like a circle in a spiral, like a wheel within a wheel, never ending or beginning on a never spinning reel, as the images unwind, like the circles that you find in the windmills of your mind.
Okay, next we'll like your reading. Yeah, come on, Claire.
Good morning. I'm Claire. I just wanted to see you for a sec, but
Yeah.
I need to read too. I'm going to read a few little fragments from Lao Tzu. Sorry. Okay. There we go.
Yeah, much
I'm going to
better.
read a few things from Lao Tzu, the Chinese sage of Taoism from the 6th century, I believe, BCE. Okay. The Tao gives birth to all beings, nourishes them, maintains them, cares for them, comforts them, protects them, takes them back to itself, creating without possessing, acting without expecting, guiding without interfering. That is why love of the Tao is in the very nature of things. A good traveler has no fixed plans, and it is not intent upon arriving. A good artist lets his intuition lead him wherever it wants. A good scientist has freed himself of concepts and keeps his mind open to what is. Some say that my teaching is nonsense. Others call it lofty but impractical. But to those who have looked inside themselves, this nonsense makes perfect sense. And to those who put it into practice, this loftiness has roots that go deep. I have just 3 things to teach: simplicity, patience, compassion. These 3 are your greatest treasures. Simple in actions and in thoughts, you return to the source of being. Patient with both friends and enemies, you accord with the way things are. Compassionate toward yourself, you reconcile all beings in the world. Almost.
No worry, worry, worry. No worry, worry, worry. No worry, worry, worry. No worry, worry, worry. Even if it won't come true, dreaming is what dreamers do. 7 seas to green from blue are never gray. if it all goes bust, the pretty pearls all fade to rust. Angel wings to angel dust every day. Oh, worry no more.
Worry no more.
Oh, worry no more.
Don't worry.
There's an open door for you.
Gonna worry no more.
Oh, worry no more.
Don't worry.
Oh, worry no more.
Don't worry.
There's an open door for you.
Gonna worry no more.
Walking through the clouds, bottles breaking, angry crowds, lion tamers can't be found anywhere. Listening to the sounds for miles, Spanish catches, playground smiles, crowded streets and daily trials for all to share. Oh, worry no more.
Don't worry.
Oh, worry no more.
Don't worry.
There's an open door for you.
Gonna worry no more.
Oh, worry no more.
Don't worry.
Oh, worry no more.
Don't worry.
'Cause there's an open door for you. Keep climbing. Yeah, yeah. Keep climbing. Yeah, yeah. Keep climbing. Keep climbing. Oh, worry no more.
Don't worry.
Whoa, worry no more.
Don't worry.
There's an open door for you.
Gonna worry no more.
Oh, worry no more.
Don't worry.
Whoa, worry no more.
Don't worry.
There's an open door for you. Help us out, people. You
Gonna
know
worry
it.
no more.
Oh, worry no more.
Don't worry.
Whoa, worry no more.
Don't worry.
'Cause there's an open door for you. Oh, worry no more.
Worry no more.
Whoa, worry no more.
Don't worry.
There's an open door for you. No worry, worry, worry. No worry, worry, worry. No worry, worry, worry. No worry.
Well, I have to rearrange the furniture just a little bit here to get started and just say good morning. Good morning, beloved community. I'll tell you what happened to me. About a week or 10 days ago, I was preparing for this Sunday and thinking about the various topics and themes and what could be possibly said without getting you into a bunch of worry. And by the way, don't worry, there's an open door if you don't like what I said. But then over the past few days, I've become increasingly discomforted with what I was preparing. You know, it just didn't seem to resonate in my heart. So then, in the middle of the night, about 4 or 5 days ago, I woke up, and that little voice within me said, "Why is it that you are choosing the topic? Why not the beloved community? Why not you? You must have questions or thoughts or ideas, or maybe there's a point in Unity teachings that you just don't understand." So I thought, today, I'm going to try something new. I'm going to try to see what your questions, your good questions, your great questions will bring us. So this week, Julie, thank you, Julie, sent out an email. And if you're on the email list for this spiritual center, then you probably received it. And what do you know? We got some replies. So this morning, I'm going to start with a great question that was asked by one of you. Let me read it. Hi, Jim. The age-old question. If there is a God, then why did he allow X to happen? I am still pondering about the abuse I received from the hands of my parents, physical, emotional, sexual. I know they did the best they could. Reason just doesn't cut it for me. I just can't believe they could do this to their own child. Wow, do you feel that? Feel that in your heart? Do you feel that question? So this really brings us to the heart of many topics. There's all kinds of rich ways I can go with that question. I can talk about the doctrine which is taught in classes on apologetics. I can talk about what is God. I could talk about some of the famous authors that have written on this subject. It's an age-old question. It's been debated and talked about for centuries. There is a teaching that's used in apologetics class in seminary. Those are those classes where you discuss questions that have no answers. A classic question in this branch of theology asks, how can a loving God permit evil and suffering in the world? And the argument goes something like this. If God allows suffering, God is either not all-powerful and is unable to prevent suffering. If God allows suffering, God is either not all-loving because God has the power to prevent suffering, but is unwilling to do so. Or, if God allows suffering, God is not all-knowing. God only is aware of the suffering after it has already occurred and is too late to prevent it. In other words, God showed up late. So, when I looked at these, I thought, none of these answers, not a single one of them, is sufficient. And then, of course, we come to the question of evil in the world. First of all, why does God prevent evil? And we just have to examine human history and the actors that have found their way to the stage of history. And we also need to look at the experience of this one individual, of this community, a little one that was born and whose very words were, like we discussed last week, I am love, I am lovable. Then her every trust in the goodness of humanity, even her own father and mother, were violated. There's a famous book, Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning is the book that he wrote. Many of you maybe have read that book. There's a particular paragraph in it that really struck me. Can you imagine in a German concentration camp where men slept without even as much of a blanket on a cold German night? And the book says a particular man had a nightmare. He was screaming in this nightmare, but we dared not wake him up because his nightmare was far better than reality. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? This is pure evil from any definition. Rabbi Harold Kushner's book, When Bad Things Happen to Good People, makes this comment, which is a key to this problem we're discussing here this morning. He says, all the responses to tragedy which we have considered have at least one thing in common. They assume that God is the cause of our suffering, and they try to understand why God would want us to suffer. We're left either hating ourselves for deserving such a fate, or hating God for sending it to us when we did not deserve it. There just might be another approach. Maybe God did not cause the suffering. We are, as human beings, created in the image and likeness of God. God is capable of God that is capable of such, incapable of such pure evil. That's what I get for having technology here. Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, had something to say about this. Last year I published this book. It's called Quotable Quotes from Unity Books. It's a compilation of about 140 quotations out of various Unity books. And in this book there are two sets of quotations. One set is about evil. Another set in there is about the doctrine of well, I'll get to it here in a minute. Don't remember. I'll tell you in a second. But this is what Charles Fillmore had to say. There can be no question that the origin of what we perceive as evil is in humanity. If we identify with negative emotions by connecting I am, or our spiritual self to negativity, we will negate divine ideas. There are countless reasons why many continue to do this, and if anyone is doing it, evil continues to exist. Well, the second set of quotations is under the topic of free will. That's the word I was trying to remember. And Charles Fillmore says, misuse of freedom of thought, belief, and will are the mainstreams of our continual sojourns into evil and useless, unnecessary suffering, or hell. Freedom of choice is how we think, what we believe, and how we react. We generate our own heaven or hell. Get that? We generate our own heaven and hell. We may continue to blame God for creating heaven and hell, but we have been given the resources and the freedom to use those resources in any manner that we choose. So, Charles Fillmore talks here about freedom of choice. Every one of us has complete freedom of choice. We have all the attributes of God. We can create anything we want. We can create prosperity or lack. We can create love or the opposite of love. We can create wonderful things as we have done as humanity. Or we can create the opposite. Can you imagine a world where we didn't have that freedom? It's a part of this world that we were born into. Complete freedom to create anything, anytime that we desire. So again, even with that, to many of us, it's an unsatisfactory answer. When I say it's an unsatisfactory answer, I can imagine one of those game shows going, "Onk." You know what I mean? To many of us, it's an unsatisfactory answer. So when someone beats us up or beats us down, we often say to ourselves, if only I had done whatever. If only I had been better. If only I had done something other than what I am. So we blame ourselves. Or we go back to those doctrines, the theosophies they're called, that I mentioned earlier. How can I believe in a God when this has entered my life? It brings me to a thought, a memory of a former minister that Sharon and I had in Sacramento. She had a rare disease of the brain where she lost her memory, and eventually she made her transition. And Reverend Faith would always say things like, "I don't know why this washed up on my shore, but I know that God didn't do it. God didn't do it." But even in that, even when we blame ourselves or others or blame God, it isn't a satisfactory answer. So it really comes down to our understanding of God. A few minutes ago you heard a reading from the famous and very deep thinker of Chinese philosophy, Lao Tzu. And he said that if we try, or if we're attempting to define God, it's not God. So I'm going to try in a minute to define God. God. You know, we sometimes think of God as some person, a person, place, or thing. God is not a person, but is every person. God is not a place, but on the other hand, God is in every place. There's no spot where God is not. And God is not a thing, but God is everything. We are incapable of even imagining God that is in everything, causes the atoms to do what atoms do. All right? Causes our very life to be life. Is in everything and everyone. So even the smallest molecule has a measure of free will. Suppose this is a world in which individualized expressions of God, that's you and me, individualized expressions of God, individualized expressions of divine intelligence must discover and must apply the physical and spiritual principles needed to produce that happiness and health and wisdom. And in the center of where we are, if we center ourselves in the truth of absolute goodness, even in the face of evil and unspeakable suffering, if we rely upon it while we're walking in the valley of the shadow, which we all may have at some point in time, then no calamity, absolutely no calamity, can overwhelm our sense of okayness. And that really doesn't mean that we glibly dismiss suffering as an error in consciousness. It doesn't mean that we feel superior to people in pain or feel guilty when we face a health challenge. It doesn't mean any of those things. But we realize that this world is set up so that we have the freedom necessary for choice. A necessary freedom for choice. But even that is an unsatisfactory answer to those that live in these painful memories. So I wonder, I've been talking over the past few times I've been here about the beloved community. Aren't we the healing center for those things that have come across our lives, those past chapters? We come together. In fact, I was reading a book. It's called The Dharma for Difficult Times. I was reading that this week. And in the first 2 chapters of that book, it's about Mahatma Gandhi and how he had his ashram that he would be present with continually because it was a healing, beloved community. You see, that word just keeps on coming up for me. Beloved community. And that was Gandhi's experience of a community. And so those that have had these tragic events happen in their life, this is the community where we heal together. So I don't know. I don't know if the words that I've said here sufficiently cover the question. The question is why these things happen. Why we make a choice. Why those parents made a choice. It could be they also suffered from abuse. It could be they suffered from mental illness. We'll never know why. And perhaps every instance is a unique instance. But we do know 3 things. Number 1, you didn't do it. You're not responsible for the actions or inactions of others in life. It's not your fault. Number 2, God didn't do it. God is a presence and a power and energy source in the universe. Not a mean presence that fousts hurt and anger and judgment against us. And the third thing I know is the devil didn't do it. I used to believe that at one time. It's a choice. It's a choice. So I'm going to ask you. It's your turn. Do you have any questions about this? Maybe you're not used to asking questions in church. You ask them after you go home. Any questions? Yes. Yes.
I don't have a question, so I just wanted to share. I was listening to an interview with Tikman Khan,
Huh?
and I think he said something that is relevant to this question that was helpful to me.
Good.
It's just his perspective.
Huh?
But what he said was,
So perhaps it is a contrast. Perhaps we experience some of these things so we can see love and compassion. You know? Maybe that's true. Anything else? Well, with that, I'd like us to just center ourselves for a moment. And I'd invite you to ground your feet on the floor in front of you if you'd like, and close your eyes gently. And just take a deep breath. So my question to you is, in this moment of contemplation, in this moment, do you realize what responsibility that we have to create heaven and hell on this earth? We create good, we create love, we create inspiration, we create prosperity. All the attributes of a loving presence that's in the universe. Or we can create the opposite. And so the question for you today is, how can I step into my world and create what needs to be done in our earth? How can we create that love and joy and peace in the lives of others around me? I am a creator, just as God creates. So we breathe into this moment and ask that question. Yes, we are the thinker that thinks the thoughts. And so may we only create that which is good. May we only create that which is a blessing. For we affirm that in the name and the power of the Christ presence. Amen.
Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Listen to what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is everywhere. And every thought's indeed a prayer. May the blessings of God rest upon me. May God's peace abide in me. May God's presence illuminate my heart now and forevermore. May the blessing of God rest upon you. May God's peace abide in you. May God's presence illuminate your heart now and forevermore. May the blessing of God rest upon us. May God's peace abide in us. May God's presence illuminate our heart now and forevermore. Now and forevermore.
So we come to the time in our service where we offer our tithes and offerings, and because we're not passing plates during this pandemic time, there's baskets available on this side of the sanctuary. And for those of you that are home, there's buttons on your screen. There's all kinds of ways. There's all kinds of ways to share your prosperity with this spiritual center. So let's bless our offering together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God.
Yes, if you know the words, you can sing along. If you don't know the words, you can sing along.
We're not that picky. We just want you to have a good time and feel good with us. 2, 3, 4.
Love is but a song we sing, and fear's the way we die. You can make the mountains ring, or make the angels cry. Though the dove is on the wing, and you may not know why. Come on, people now, smile on your brother. Everybody get together, try to love one another right now. Some may come and some may go, and we will surely pass. When the one that left us here returns for us at last, we are but a moment's sunlight fading in the grass. Come on, people now, smile on your brother. Everybody get together, try to love one another right now. everybody get together, try to love one another right now. If you hear the song I sing, you will understand. Listen. You hold the key to love and fear in your trembling hand. Just one key unlocks them both. It's there at your command. Come on, people now, smile on your brother. Everybody get together, try to love one another right now. I said, come on, people now, smile on your brother. Everybody get together, try to love one another right now. Right now, right now.
Hey, did you notice something, the serendipity going on? You can make the mountains sing or the angels cry. How'd you know what I was going to talk about?
The devil made us do it.
Okay. There's always an alternative voice in the crowd. So it looks like our time has come for us to circle up, and we have, first of all, the prayer of protection, and then the peace song. And by the way, those of you that are involved in the Wednesday night discussion, these are available in the office. Number one is there's more copies of this book. And number two, Julie created these, which is from Enlightenment magazine. It's about spiral dynamics. So go to the office and you'll see them there. So let's all circle up, and we have the prayer protection and then the peace song. Don't you feel blessed to be here?
Yeah.
So together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is swell.
Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. Yes, there is peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be. With God as our creator, family all are we. As we walk with each other in perfect harmony. Love it. Yes, peace begins with me. Yes, this is the moment now. With every step I take, this is my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins